Beneath the Alborz mountain range, encircling Tehran, lies a multi-layered reinforced concrete labyrinth buried hundreds of feet underground and protected by the highest level of military secrecy. No conventional navigation system in the world could reach its core, a place regarded as the most impregnable fortress in the region. Here, a vast underground tunnel network houses a stockpile of strategic ballistic missiles, the crown jewel of a defensive counterstrike doctrine. Their plan was simple, yet lethally effective. Remain hidden deep underground, wait for the right moment, then suddenly emerge at the surface. They intended to ambush America's modern fighter jets at their most vulnerable moment, turning aerial superiority into a deadly trap. 7 straight days of airstrikes had passed since the operation began, and now Iran's skies seem to have fallen into eerie silence. Do not be deceived by that silence, because it was in fact only the deadliest illusion of war before the real storm arrived. The United States Air Force had established near-total air superiority, marking the end of Phase 1 of the operation known as Epic Fury. However, Phase 2 of the campaign would prove to be the true turning point, focused entirely on destroying missile launch platforms buried deep underground. Dropping an ordinary bomb onto the mighty Alborz range would be no different from tossing a pebble at an impenetrable steel wall. A shell of solid rock, combined with meters of specially reinforced concrete, absorbed every surface shock, perfectly protecting the interior. Although the enemy's main air defense network had been crushed, isolated S-300 surface-to-air missile batteries still lurked in secret. Their threatening presence made any conventional airstrike by standard combat aircraft a suicidal gamble. For an F-15E Strike Eagle, the legendary bomb truck of modern warfare, a single radar lock from an S-300 could amount to a death sentence. The Pentagon would never accept risking aircrews and multi-million-dollar combat platforms for nothing. When the risk exceeded the limits of what conventional fighter aircraft could bear, the ultimate strategic chess piece was finally placed on the board. That piece was the stealth specter known as the B-2 Spirit, a symbol of military technological power worth more than $2 billion per aircraft. With its unique batwing aerodynamic design, the B-2 carried a single mission: to penetrate places no other aircraft could reach. The B-2 Spirit does not engage air defense systems head-on. Instead, it silently erases their existence. Gliding through the stratosphere in complete stealth, the B-2 Spirit was the only platform capable of piercing this dense web of air defenses. Its primary mission was to carpet the heart of the Alborz mountain with dozens of 2,000-pound BLU-109 bunker buster bombs. Complex physics algorithms were applied to calculate every impact angle with precision, aiming to tear the mountain apart from deep within. The mission to strike these secret missile cities did not begin from any forward operating base in the volatile Middle East. Instead, the combat order was activated from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, thousands of miles from the target. 4 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers were ordered into an urgent launch, beginning a direct round-trip mission of more than 6,000 nautical miles. That enormous flight path across the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean required an extremely precise and extensive aerial logistics network. A fleet of aerial refueling aircraft was continuously deployed, pumping tens of thousands of gallons of fuel into the bomber's tanks in midair. Before the B-2 formation entered the target airspace, the entire electromagnetic battlespace had already been torn apart by large-scale electronic warfare operations. EA-18 Growlers unleashed high-intensity jamming waves, completely blinding the enemy's radar arrays. At the same time, Allied fighter squadrons dove in to eliminate active missile batteries, punching holes in the mountain's defensive shield. An invisible safe corridor was opened across a sky filled with fire and steel, allowing the 4 B-2 Spirits to slip through without leaving a trace. Every concept of traditional bombing was discarded entirely as the bomber formation approached the precise coordinates over the Alborz range. Once the core of the underground base was accurately located, the weapon bay doors inside the B-2 Spirit began to open in frightening silence. No single giant bomb was dropped. Instead, a rain of precision-guided penetrating weapons was released. Dozens of blue 109 bombs plunged downward in near vertical trajectories, their angles of attack carefully calculated by advanced physics models. These steel masses were not designed to create massive explosions on the surface. Their purpose was to penetrate deep into the geological structure below. Their mechanical destructive power was intended to collapse reinforced concrete entrances, shatter ventilation shafts, and break the mountain's structural weak points. In an instant, tens of thousands of tons of earth and rock caved in, burying the ballistic missile arsenal forever inside the very bunker once thought invulnerable. This thunderous strike was only a small part of a large-scale 72-hour bombing campaign that destroyed 200 infrastructure targets. The mechanical differences between penetration weapons were the key factor that determined the success or failure of the entire Epic Fury campaign. While the massive 30,000-pound GBU 5-7 super bomb was used like a sledgehammer to crush the deepest core of the mighty Alborz mountain, smaller variants such as the GBU 28 and BLU 109 served as surgical knives, cutting through the weakest links of the underground system. The operating principle of the BLU 109 bomb is the perfect combination of Earth's gravity and next-generation smart fusing technology. When released from the belly of a B-2 Spirit, it accelerates downward at tremendous speed, like an unguided weapon in its first seconds of descent. The core feature of this weapon lies in its multifunction fuse system, where ground crews can configure detonation from either the nose or the tail. If the bomb hits the ground with the nose fuse activated, it explodes instantly, releasing enormous kinetic pressure to devastate the surface. However, against the hard rock shell of the Alborz range, the nose fuse is completely ineffective and cannot damage the missile network hidden deep below. B. Two crews therefore had to rely on the FMU 139 tail fuse to create a deliberately delayed detonation after penetrating hard material. Accelerated by gravity from tens of thousands of feet, the ultra-hard steel alloy casing of the BLU 109 can easily pierce concrete surfaces. The bomb does not explode on impact. It penetrates deep into the bunker's interior before the timer begins its detonation sequence. Once it reaches the programmed depth, the 500-pound explosive charge inside finally erupts, destroying everything from the inside out. Within the sealed chambers of the underground base, pressure magnifies the blast effect, shredding electronics and the most expensive ballistic missile launch systems. With a production cost of only around $4,000, the destruction-to-cost ratio of this weapon becomes almost brutally unreal. But all of that was merely the opening act, because when the target lies too deep within the mountain, America must unleash its trump card, the GBU 57. The GBU 57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator is a 14-ton giant built to create artificial earthquakes beneath the Earth's surface. The deployment process for this superweapon is extremely complex, requiring perfect coordination across 4 critical phases to achieve maximum effectiveness. The first phase is the launch platform itself, where the B-2 Spirit is the only aircraft capable of carrying the massive bomb inside its weapons bay. The bomber must maintain the optimal altitude in the stratosphere before release, maximizing Earth's gravitational pull to generate penetrating kinetic force. Even a small error of a few thousand feet in release altitude could deprive the bomb of the power needed to penetrate hundreds of meters of granite. Entering Phase 2, the GBU 57 does not simply fall blindly. It continuously receives data from the global military satellite navigation system. Orbital satellites constantly synchronize the bomb's falling trajectory with the highly classified target coordinates programmed in advance. Phase 3 is when elite mechanical engineering takes over, as navigation data is transmitted directly to the 4 large lattice fins at the tail. Unlike cruise missiles, the GBU 57 has no propulsion system of its own. It depends entirely on converting potential energy into immense kinetic energy. These fins constantly adjust their angles in split seconds to correct the flight path, counter air resistance, and fight upper atmosphere winds. This is a free fall from the stratosphere, yet it carries the absolute precision of a sniper shot fired from tens of thousands of meters above. Dropping the bomb from maximum altitude gives the aerodynamic system enough time and space to perfect the trajectory before impact. Phase 4 begins when the bomb reaches maximum velocity and slams into the mountain with enough force to shake the surrounding geology. Its specially reinforced steel casing allows the GBU 57 to penetrate more than 60 meters of hard earth and rock before the powerful explosive charge ignites. A horrific contained explosion erupts at the center of the base, where shockwaves rebound off stone walls and generate crushing pressure. The entire underground structure warps, and the strategic ballistic missiles are flattened into useless scrap beneath tens of thousands of tons of collapsing rock. Yet, no matter how powerful the weapon may be, it becomes useless if the bomber is detected and destroyed by air defenses before reaching the target. The secret that allows the B-2 Spirit to infiltrate deeply into the most heavily protected airspace on Earth lies in its unusual aerodynamic design and stealth materials. If you look closely, You will notice that the B-2 has no vertical tail fins or traditional control surfaces like any conventional fighter aircraft. This design eliminates the vertical structures that usually reflect radar most strongly, turning the B-2 into a true ghost on radar screens. To control its direction without vertical stabilizers, engineers created a unique split drag rudder system at the trailing edge of its massive wings. When the aircraft needs to turn, these surfaces separate to alter air resistance, allowing it to maneuver without increasing its radar cross-section. The second secret behind the B-2's ability to evade detection lies in its advanced composite structure, which absorbs electromagnetic waves instead of reflecting them. The edges of the aircraft are made from a special glass and epoxy mixture that effectively prevents radar waves from bouncing back to the source. Most of the bomber's vast wing body surface is constructed from graphite and epoxy, reducing both weight and radar signature to a minimum. Even the central cockpit structure is carefully engineered with reinforced aluminum skin to protect the crew during long-duration missions. Areas near the engines, which must withstand extreme heat from exhaust flow, are built from titanium and extremely costly superalloys. An outer layer of heat-resistant fiberglass forms an invisible shield against the enemy's infrared tracking systems. But the most important factor in the B-2's stealth technology is its special coating known as radar-absorbent material, said to be worth up to $1 billion. The chemical composition of this coating is among the most closely guarded military secrets, preventing rival powers from duplicating it. This polymer coating traps radar waves and converts electromagnetic energy into heat, then quietly dissipates it into the air. Thanks to this advanced technology, the B-2 can appear to enemy radar as little more than a small bird, even though in reality it is a giant machine. Yet all stealth efforts would become meaningless if the bomber were exposed at the exact moment its weapons bay doors opened. The internal weapons carriage system of the B-2 Spirit is truly a masterpiece of engineering, optimized for space efficiency and lightning-fast attack capability. Despite its sleek and elegant appearance, the B-2 is essentially a mobile arsenal capable of carrying 8500 pound Mark 82 bombs. All 18,000 kilograms of deadly ordnance are hidden completely within its stealth shell, ready to be unleashed at any moment. Depending on the demands of a specific mission, this internal carriage system can be reconfigured into a highly advanced rotary launcher. This allows the B-2 to carry 16 AGM-158 cruise missiles, intelligent long-range strike weapons capable of finding their targets on their own. Each missile, worth $1.5 million, is a true killing machine designed to fly low along terrain to avoid detection. When the bomb bay doors open for a split second, the missiles are released silently, allowing the aircraft to preserve its stealth profile as much as possible. The moment they leave the launcher, the AGM-158 missiles automatically deploy their wings and ignite their jet engines to begin a destructive journey hundreds of miles long. Every technical detail, from the radar-absorbing skin to the bomb bay door mechanism, is optimized for surprise attack without leaving any electromagnetic trace. The convergence of cutting-edge stealth technology and the destructive power of bunker-busting weapons created a doomsday scenario for the underground base. The fortified Alborz mountain was shattered not by massive troop numbers, but by physics algorithms and almost unreal targeting precision. This was not merely a military attack, it was also a crushing blow to the pride of a strategic defense system. It proved a brutal truth. No matter how thick the rock may be, America will always have equations precise enough to pierce through it. This lethal strike confirmed the absolute dominance of the stealth specter in the skies, carrying a death sentence for underground targets. Now imagine the final moments inside the central control room, buried deep underground within the Alborz strategic missile base. The most advanced radar display screens suddenly glitched and went dark, while no warning alarm sounded in time. A multi-billion-dollar air defense network became blind and deaf in an instant before the invisible presence of the strategic bomber. The soldiers below heard no engine roar, because the B-2 Spirit had already glided through the stratosphere long before. The only sign of the approaching end was a strange, immensely powerful tremor rising through the soles of their boots from deep within the mountain. Then came the terrifying low, cracking sounds of tens of meters of reinforced concrete overhead, beginning to yield under unbearable pressure. In less than a quarter of a second, enormous blast pressure tore apart the strongest structures within the underground complex. Tens of thousands of tons of matter and rock collapsed downward, crushing all life and turning billion-dollar missile launchers into suffocating heaps of twisted scrap. The finishing blow did not come from direct firefights filled with smoke and flame, but from a silent mathematical equation falling from maximum altitude. The giant security wall the enemy had relied upon was not breached in the conventional sense. It was ruthlessly bypassed by technology. Senior commanders outside the mountain range could only stare at their dead communication screens, unable to understand what was truly happening. Just seconds earlier, they had controlled a weapons network capable of destroying almost any target, but now all that remained was lifeless white noise. A feeling of absolute panic spread across command as they realized they were helpless before an enemy that never appeared on radar. Meanwhile, the ghostly B-2 Spirit silently turned homeward, beginning its return flight to Whiteman and leaving only deadly silence behind. Operation Epic Fury had become a cold final punctuation mark, proof of an asymmetric war of technology and strategic thought. This was the greatest illusion of modern warfare. The most sophisticated defensive systems reduced to worthless ruins. The greatest paradox of the entire campaign lay in human arrogance when confronting the most basic laws of physics. They believed digging deeper underground would shield them from fury descending from the sky, but in reality, they were building their own tomb. An immensely complex defense system was ultimately shattered by one simple and irresistible force: gravity. Smart bombs costing only a few $1,000s borrowed the power of the Earth itself to pierce defensive masterpieces built over decades. The Alborz range still stands tall beneath the Middle Eastern sky, but whatever lay beneath that rock will remain forever as silent ruins. The arrogance of an invincible fortress was extinguished, leaving behind an expensive lesson about the obsolescence of static defensive structures. Now we step away from the blazing battlefield and enter a completely different world, where wars erupt in absolute silence. It is the realm of digital ghosts and invisible security flaws that no firewall can ever fully block. Before Operation Epic Fury officially began, the American cyber warfare team had already quietly penetrated the enemy's infrastructure. They did not use guns or missiles, but billions of lines of malicious code to attack highly classified military data servers. Millions of spam emails, spoofed calls, and waves of denial-of-service attacks were launched to paralyze the command network. Their objective was to extract classified data and identify the exact coordinates of the missile cities buried deep beneath the Alborz range. This data was not merely military information. It also exposed fatal weaknesses in the way the enemy's systems were operated. In the modern era, data exposure can lead to catastrophic consequences, from denied loans to total loss of privacy. That is why protecting personal information in cyberspace has become a top priority in order to avoid unnecessary risks. Imagine if your data fell into the hands of information brokers. They would continuously sell it and exploit it for malicious purposes. That is why data protection tools are becoming more important than ever in a digital world full of traps. Returning to the battlefield, once the network had been crippled, the enemy's radar sensors began displaying false information. The stealth B-2 Spirits exploited this digital chaos to move closer to the target without arousing suspicion. Every step of the operation was calculated so that the synchronization between cyber attack and physical strike would be as perfect as possible. The moment the bunker-busting bombs were released from their racks, the underground base's communication system was also severed by malicious software. The soldiers in the bunker were not only physically isolated by hundreds of meters of earth and rock, but also completely cut off from the fusion of brute explosive force and the subtlety of malicious code turned the strongest base into a black hole of despair. Look at the control panel inside a B-2 Spirit, where every detail about the target and flight path is displayed through advanced interfaces. The crew consists of only 2 people, yet they control enough firepower to change the course of an entire campaign. They glide through the darkness, without sound, without trace, carrying out justice from an altitude no naked eye can see. Stealth technology is not only about materials or design, it is also about total mastery of the electromagnetic space around the aircraft. When a radar pulse strikes the aircraft's surface, it is either redirected or fully absorbed, leaving no strong return signal for the enemy. Even the heat emitted by the engines is managed through specialized ducts to reduce the infrared signature as much as possible. Every effort of the world's leading military engineers has converged to create a real-life ghost. And once the target is destroyed, the B-2 Spirit quietly withdraws, completing the mission without firing a single defensive shot. This is the pinnacle of modern warfare, destroying the enemy's most important target without giving them a chance to respond. The Alborz range is now only a mournful symbol of the failure of military thinking built around outdated underground fortifications. What we have just witnessed was not merely a conventional military strike, but a revolution in asymmetric warfare thinking. Power no longer lies in how many soldiers you possess, but in how many algorithms and precision guidance technologies you command. A massive defense network can collapse because of the smallest flaw that its designers overlooked or dismissed. The battle in the Alborz range closed an old chapter in military history, one in which stone fortresses were seen as the final refuge. The world is entering a new era, where the line between safety and danger is as thin as a line of code or a layer of stealth coding. But the story of the B-2 stealth ghosts is only one small part of the broader picture of modern military power. Behind those billion-dollar machines stand countless human minds, forever pushing the limits of perfection and precision. Let us look once again at the structure of the GBU-57 to understand why it is called the destroyer of underground bases. At over 6 meters long and clad in a special alloy shell, it is a giant drill designed to withstand extraordinary pressure. As it punches through concrete, friction generates extreme heat, yet the bomb remains stable until it reaches the intended target. The combination of pure kinetic energy and internal chemical energy creates a destructive force that no bunker can endure. The U.S. Air Force turned the impossible into reality, turning eternal mountains into deadly traps for the enemy's own army. This is a cold reminder that in modern war, silence often carries the most terrible threats. You are watching content on our channel, where we dissect military secrets and seemingly impossible operations. If you found this analysis of Operation Epic Fury and the ghostly B-2 spirit truly compelling, do not forget to leave your support for the channel. Your support is a great motivation for us to continue producing dramatic and in-depth analytical videos like this every week. We will soon return to crime files and large-scale heists of international magnitude in our next videos. Imagine a world where the most intelligent criminals use their knowledge to challenge the strictest security systems on Earth. An escape from Alcatraz or a theft of tens of millions from a national treasury without firing a single shot. All of those thrilling stories will be decoded based on real files and the most authentic historical evidence. Back in reality, the veil of secrecy surrounding stealth technologies continues to evolve as military powers improve and refine them. The new generation B-21 Raider is beginning to emerge, promising capabilities far beyond even the B-2 spirit. The arms race in the skies has never truly stopped, and underground mountain fortresses will always face invisible hunters from the stratosphere. The collapse of the Alborz base is only one vivid example, proving that nothing is absolute in a world where technology changes every day. The winner is not the side with the thickest wall, but the one that can see what others try hardest to hide. We hope this video has given you a new perspective on air power and the brutality of modern high-tech warfare. Every detail in this script is based on technical analysis and real-world data concerning America's most advanced weapon systems. Thank you for joining us throughout this journey of decoding Operation Epic Fury and the power of the B-2 spirit. Remember, in the darkness of underground bunkers, the truth can sometimes be more terrifying and thrilling than any Hollywood blockbuster. Do not take your eyes off the screen, because up next will be the most detailed simulated visuals yet of the moment the GBU-57 strikes its underground target. One strike, one outcome, and a total shift in the military balance of the Middle East. Let us reflect together on the value of peace in a world where weapons of destruction are becoming ever more precise and ruthless. Are we truly safe behind walls of concrete, or is that only a comforting illusion before the power of modern science and technology? The answer lies in how we choose to understand power, and how we use technology to protect rather than destroy. At the end of the operation, the B-2 spirits returned home, quietly landing on the runway to be greeted by devoted maintenance crews. They are the silent heroes behind every celebrated success, ensuring every smallest detail in the aircraft remains in perfect condition. Once again, hello and thank you for listening to this special analytical script from our professional editorial team today. Do not forget to turn on notifications, so you will be the first to watch the next videos on crime and gripping history coming soon. System vulnerabilities are still out there, and brilliant minds are still quietly planning operations that may one day shock the world. Are you ready to explore humanity's darkest secrets with us in the journeys ahead, full of surprises? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We always listen and deeply appreciate every contribution from our beloved community. A B-2 strike does not merely destroy a target. It destroys an entire will to resist through silence and overwhelming power. The final paradox is that the one who challenges the system is often the one holding the key to break every rule the system worked so hard to create. The strongest wall, in the end, becomes the perfect coffin for those who trust too much in the protection of rock and concrete. Sincere thanks, and we will see you again next week in more dramatic and haunting historical and true crime stories. Prepare yourself, because the bank heist, using sound that we just mentioned, will completely change how you think about security. Nothing is truly secret, only systems that have not yet been decoded by minds crazy enough and brilliant enough to do it. Have a wonderful day, and stay alert to the invisible traps of the digital world and the stealth ghosts of real life around you. A cold finishing blow, an ironic truth, and an eternal lesson about the power of precision overcoming every limit of hard matter. Goodbye, and see you again at the peak of the most gripping, true historical and crime stories on our channel.